Welcome back to the AM Weekend Show. My name is Divine Onoha, and I still have with me Ogochukwu Osai. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
So Rika signed us off with a very, very amazing tune, amazing love song. And did you enjoy it, by the way?
Yes, I did.
Are you a fan of love songs or heartbreak songs?
Well, I actually, that's why I asked that question. I actually like heartbreak songs, and it does not interpret to me as heartbreak. Let me be honest. It's just, I just vibe to the sound. I like how slow it sounds. I like some of the words. So
Annoyed.
It's not really giving me sadness.
Okay, it doesn't give me sadness.
No.
Oh well, I enjoyed the song Cheta. So right now we're going to be delving into our next conversation. I will be looking at love in a digital age, navigating relationships and social media as teenagers. And we have just been joined by a very amazing teens coach who goes by the name Ifoma Watu. Welcome to the show, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you on the show.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
How did you spend your Valentine?
Yesterday was very busy for me. I didn't really have the fun of Valentine because I had so much on my deck. Because this weekend I have like 2 programs for teenagers concerning the Valentine Day.
Wow.
Just work.
I see you're doing amazing things. So let's talk about, let's delve right into it. I know that it is not news that from teenage age, people start to have emotions, love, even sexual urges, and all manner of things. I remember back in secondary school, hey God, when we were in JSS1, everything was calm. Many people hated the opposite sex. We hated boys. I don't want to sit with him. I don't want to sit with her. And then we entered JSS2. There was this competition between genders, you know, girls wanting to outdo boys, boys wanting to outdo girls. JS3, things started to change a little bit, and we're getting friendlier. You know, letters flying around. Even though I heard that some people, as young as primary 5, primary 4, all these things already start. All the emotions already start. But by the time we finished junior WAEC and we came back in SS1, hey, Chineke, if you see the way things had turned upside down, I was hearing gist. This one is doing this with this. This one is doing that.
So surprised, like you? No.
And even myself, I am guilty in the sense that I used to be one of those who hated boys. I didn't like boys at all. I didn't want to have anything to do with them. But by the time I got to SS1, the emotion had changed. I wasn't crushing necessarily, but I found out that I was more receptive of them. There was a time I got really, very friendly with them, and they would look at me, what's happened? I mean, you go this holiday, you get something where, is there something that happened to you during the holiday? And I couldn't explain it, but I started to see them as human beings, like myself. And I didn't have, any of those antagonistic feeling I used to have about them. So I just observed that those are the phases that people just go through as youngsters. As you're growing, things are changing, and until we now started to really have feelings for people. So having established that these feelings start at teenage age, and now we're in a digital world. We're talking about social media. Everybody's on social media. Even as far back as when I was in secondary school, I was on social media. How much more the Gen Zs, this, generation. Why am I sounding like I'm... so a lot of people have been on social media. So I want to know, the first question I'd like to ask is, do you think that this digital age has any effect on these feelings, on love, and, these related emotions currently with teenagers?
Yes, of course, because young people growing, a whole lot of things influence them. And one of the most influential tools in this time is the social media. What they see, what they watch, and what they read, and what they hear. So I think it has so much effect. Just like you said, the crush, the feelings are normal. But at this age, teenagers are expected to have a little control over it because they lack the knowledge and the proper understanding of what these feelings are. Some of them can't even explain it, because when you ask them, why are you getting close to this person, they can't even explain what the feelings truly are. But the social media have come, and they see a whole lot of adults, they see a whole lot of things, and they admire it, they desire it. I don't know if you're getting, they desire to I want to, that imagination.
Mm.
I want to feel loved. I want to have the flower bouquet. I want to do this. I want to do that. So it's actually influencing the feelings and the emotions of now.
So we say negative or positive for now?
I think the negative is on
It's
the
higher.
major, yeah.
Okay.
Now, we also have a situation where we see teenagers, social media influencing how we now reason or talk about human communication, building friendships and relationships. There is now this level of expectations people have because of the pictures that social media paints, like perfect, perfect, perfect. So how do you think this influence teenagers in building relationships growing up?
Okay, the social media have an influence because the life of social media is not actually what life is in the real sense of life. So it's more like when they see these things on social media and see how perfect it looks like, so they want to practicalize it, and they already have an expectation. Let me use the word. There's an expectation that this is how it should be. The social media now is looking like a life manual that you have to do this to get this, you have to do this to get this. So they are not actually have the knowledge of what practically the reality of what life is. So social media is affecting their communication, is affecting their relationship, and just let's look at the case of cyberbullying. You see where people come on social media, young people, you feel you can just talk to people anyhow, say anything that you want to say and get away with it. But somehow behind the scene, outside the social media, you see that you can do it and you won't get away with it. So it's actually influencing them because there's this expectation that life of social media is somehow a perfect life. So when they don't get that expectation, they feel like it's not really fair to them.
So how do we now balance it to let these teenagers understand that real life and social media life is not the same?
Sensitization, reorientation, knowledge. Have a conversation with them. Tell them what real life issues are. Make them understand that what you see on social media is what people want you to see, not really how it is behind the scene. So we need to start teaching them what practical life issues are. We teach them empathy, we teach them kindness, we teach them self-confidence, we teach them how to develop themselves, how to accept yourself also. Because the life of social media have made so many teenagers have fantasies. Like when we talk about body positivity, some of them feel intimidated, like when they come online, they see people looking so beautiful and all of that, and they are not like that. They feel, something is wrong with me. So we need to also teach them self-love, self-awareness. So I think with these teachings and knowledge, they will flow very well.
Okay, so now let's talk about exposure. I remember back when we were younger, certain things happened though. So one of the things I noticed was back then, I think a lot has changed now. Back then, one of the things I noticed was that parents were not so open to children, especially on matters regarding emotion, regarding sex. They will never call you and sit you down and tell you anything. And even if they do, it just feels so weird because they will not say things the way there were times. Okay, I think I had quite fairly, I had these sessions with my mom, though very, very few times. And then I'm like, sometimes she's trying to communicate something that I already know what you're trying to say. So just say it well, let me understand. And then there are other children like that who happen to have had more knowledge self. But my point is the fact that parents were not, open enough about this matter. In a bid to protect their children. We'll not talk about sex so that you don't know what it is and you'll not do anything. We'll not talk about emotions, feelings, so that you not start following man. Not tomorrow night you come and tell me you have a boyfriend. So they felt that the best way to protect the kids was to hoard this information. So now these kids go on social media and they get more knowledge. They go to school. I learned a lot in school. I am so grateful for school. I learned a whole lot of things about biology, about all of that in school. So it begs the question. Now, for those children who were not exposed at all, we still found out that they still made mistakes. They still went the wrong way. And for the children who were exposed to, they still did things that were wrong too. So if we're saying, which is really better? to not be exposed or to be exposed? Because now we're talking about digital age and we're highlighting that the disadvantages are more. So would we rather have children who are not exposed at all or children who are exposed? Which one do we really go for?
Okay, I think children should be exposed, but there should be a limit to the exposure. In the sense that there are things you expose a child to because that child is not emotionally stable, the child is not matured enough to handle such information. So I think the best thing to do is to expose them to age appropriate information. There are information that are age appropriate. Like you said, you had a conversation with your mom and there are things she doesn't want to say because she felt that maybe you've not really come of age to know about it. But in this time, that was then, in this time where we have the social media, we have a whole lot of publicity, media exposures where children have more knowledge more than their parents. I think what should be done is, if you are a parent and you want to have this sex conversation with your child, owing to the fact that we are in the digital world where they already have prior knowledge of these things, you don't need to start running around it. Call it what it is. Say it the way it is. Demystify it, because it doesn't make sense telling somebody this thing is this when the person knows is that.
The right name.
So you demystify it. Tell the child long time effects of this thing, the short time effects of this thing. Because I will always advise parents, when you want to talk to teenagers, tell them that thing they think this is the way it is, tell them the way it is not. It gives them a better understanding of it, in the sense that the society have already made these feelings and emotions kind of, they have an already detailed information about it, like, oh, it doesn't matter, you can do it, you can get away with it, if you like this, you do like this. You can now tell them, this is not how it is. So if you do it this way, this is going to be the result, and this is going to be the after effect. Now, this exposure is good for the child. It gives them a choice. Because if you don't expose a child to this information, like you're trying to hide it so that the child doesn't get bad, and at the end of the day, this digital age, one thing about them is they are not just inquisitive, they are also practical, they are experimental.
True.
So if you feel I shouldn't tell her, oh, this book, I'm hiding it away, the child will want to know, why are you hiding this book? They are highly inquisitive.
Very.
So instead of you to hide it from them, and at the time they want to not just have a knowledge about it, they want to experiment it, it's better you expose that child and tell the child, this is the after effect of this thing, the long time term effect, the short term effect. Leave the child with a choice. And I think a wise child will choose the positive.
Okay.
The negative.
So just for clarity now, because I'm sure parents are watching us, what age do you think is appropriate to have, say, sex conversation, for instance? What age do you think we should, once it's this age, we'll say it the way we should say it and tell them?
Adding to what Divine is saying, I wanted to ask what you said about exposing them according to age. So how do we measure the age to expose? Because I've seen conversations,
because different children with different levels of exposure.
I've seen a mother said that she gave her son, a 14, 15 years old son, condom to put in his bag, so that if anything happens, he should use the condom.
That one is not part of exposure.
I've seen it.
No, so now that's not part of exposure. It's like you're giving the child an enabling environment.
Yes. From her own understanding of what she's saying, she said instead of doing it, maybe that you will think your child don't know about this thing, and maybe you're exposing, you think you're exposing them, but they have gone a long way.
How about telling them to avoid?
Yeah, she said she's saying it, but if it comes to a situation where it happens, instead of just going ahead.
Why not tell the child the implications and consequences of premarital sex?
It's true.
I actually had to ask questions.
Is giving the child an enabling environment. You're already giving the child an option. Yes. You're already giving the child
You're telling the child it's not as bad. You can just make sure you do this.
There's a way out of it. A kind of. So I think this age appropriate is like when a child is maybe from 3 to 5, There are things you need to tell the child. That's where, when we come to elementary schools, like in the nursery sections, we tell the child, if somebody touches here, this place, nobody is meant to touch here, and nobody. At that point, that child will not ask you, let me say, because children of nowadays are really like ancestors, not us. So at that point where they have not started asking you too much of the whys, they go with my mommy said
instruction.
They are going with your instruction. My mommy said nobody should. But when they are becoming preteens from the age of 9, 10, and in this time children are developing, the puberty, the adolescence is happening faster now than it used to. You can now start having these conversations. And like I said, say it the way it is. There's something she said, those days they'll tell you, if you go close to a boy, you're going to get pregnant. You can't tell a child, a teenager, that in this time. The person will laugh you to like what this one's saying, because they already know that something must happen for something to happen. So you start having this conversation at when they are preteens, let's
from
say
9,
10, 11, down to 18, 19. I think that's the best time to have the sex conversation. And please, when you're having it, say it the way it is.
Call out the names.
Call out the names.
Call out the names.
Say it.
I think parents need to hear that.
Yes, you call out the names. If possible, you can ask them, throw it as a question. What do you feel about this? Have you heard about this? And you'll be surprised they will open up at it, but you need to make the environment safe for them to open up to
That's another part of it, because we have situations where parents, children are so uncomfortable to talk about these things with their parents. So how do parents build this relationship where a child can easily open up, even if there is anything that happened in the course of the whole thing? They can be able to come back home and not hide it, but be able to open up and talk.
Before now, what parents were doing, parenting was like military barrack, where you have rules and regulations. Don't do this. You don't need to know why you don't have to do it. Just don't do it. But now, this age is more of, you need to have effective communication, and it's going to be more of conversation with them. How do you build a safe environment or safe space for your child to open up to you? You build friendship with that child. Be part of their life. Don't be emotionally distant from the child. You can start from, let's say, what some parents will consider non-meaningful conversations. When the child comes back, how are you? What happened in school today? Who and who in your class did not come to school? Why do you think this person was not in school? Who do you think is doing good? The child starts feeling relaxed, so that if anything is going wrong in the class, the child can come back home and say, "Mommy, you know that girl I told you that day? You know that she fell down from the tree." And like, "Oh, when she fell down, what did you do?" I laughed. No, you're not supposed to laugh at her. You're supposed to tell her sorry. So you start being in their life, know their interests. That's another part that some parents don't pay attention to. When you know what interests your child, you can come from that angle. It will make the child feel relaxed. Oh, my mother she's interested. She wants to know what makes me happy. Also, understand that these teenagers or children also love, somehow to an extent, their privacy.
True.
Know the right time to engage a child. You don't just open the room, the door of the room, and you saw the child reading. "Hey, Chukwemeka, stand up from there. I want to see you." You can ask the child. A child deserves respect. And to an extent, I want us to talk. When do you think will be convenient? That child, you've already prepared the mind of that child. Especially,
this is sweet.
Very eye-opening.
Yes.
Make her hear my mom.
Because most of the times when you just barge in on a child and come, I want to talk to you, you don't even know if that child is prepared at that time to have that conversation. So there's something we want us to talk about. You'll be surprised the child will come and, "Mommy, you said you want to tell me something. What is it? Is it about this? Is it about..." There will be
My mom actually does. No,
options to you.
my mom actually does that, but I know when I was a teenager. I think now she can tell me, "Okay, I want us to talk."
No, now we're adults now. Imagine me telling my mom when I was younger that I need privacy.
So if you build such an environment, I think you can have a this conversation, the
With
fact that
them.
you feel very relaxed and open up to.
Well, this is such a wholesome conversation. Honestly, I wish we could go on and on. We have more questions, we have more dimensions,
But-
more areas to explore.
We have, but I want to ask this last question, please, and I want to just answer in just 1 minute. So there was a time on social media where a conversation came up about naked parents. You understand? So is it the right thing for parents to be naked in front of their kids, teenagers? Is it
Very
right?
wrong. Very wrong.
Okay.
Very wrong. Because normally you're not supposed, another person is not meant, he's not your spouse, is not meant to see your nakedness. That's why even your children, at some point, you are not meant to see their nakedness.
Yeah,
Even
okay.
as your children.
So I think we'll call it a wrap on this
Call it
segment.
a wrap.
Thank you so much. Thank you
You're
so much,
welcome.
Miss Ifoma.
Thank you so much.
Such a
for
pleasure,
coming.
such a wholesome conversation.
Yeah, very
To you
welcome.
parents out there, please just I hope you took notes. I hope you took notes. From the age of 9, you can start talking to your children and don't try to beat about the bush about it. Just be as
Call
open
out
as
the
possible. Be the
names.
first to teach them. Very important.
Okay.
Be the first to teach them before social media teaches them. Be the first to teach them before the society influences them. That way, by the time you've taught them, whatever they hear, they can easily filter and they know what is right and what is wrong. Thank you once more for that
Thank you
segment.
so much.
We'll move on to our final conversation on the AM Weekend Show, and we'll do that right after the short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.